From the EPAWA headquarters in South Allentown, Pennsylvania, it's time for Weather Weeklies, an informative video of the ins and outs of weather that affect you most in the EPAWA coverage area. The following segment is a weekly video blog, and the opinions of the forecaster do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff of Eastern PA Weather Authority LLC as a whole, nor its constituents. Without further ado, here is meteorologist Bobby Martrus with Weather Weeklies.
Good Sunday morning to you, December 18th edition of Weather Weeklies, and we're going to get into the long range. We do have some dense fog in areas this morning if you're watching this video on Sunday morning, so please be careful if you are traveling in the morning until those temperatures are going to warm up, and we have that on the chart here today. The 17th was listed first. Of course, that was yesterday when we had the below normal temperatures, but now those temperatures are going to start to rise this morning, and we're going to get a crash of temperatures this afternoon. So a lot of up and down here on Sunday. This is the 18th here, and then we head below normal for a couple days. After that, we're going to be in an up and down pattern, below normal, above normal, below normal. This here we had near normal, is now looking like it's going to be a below normal period. Right around and it might actually be backed up to the 26th, 27th instead. So we'll have to keep an eye on that closely because we do think for the next at least through the end of the new year, or end of this year, until we get to New Year's, there's going to be a lot of up and down. And any storms that we get are going to have to be perfectly timed with that cold. Now, so far in the month of December, we've had slightly above normal snowfall for areas northwest of I-78. For areas along I-78 point southeast, however, it is below normal, and that's how it looks like how December will end. I don't see any big storms here in the next week or so. There are a couple chances of some little, some minor events, or maybe like a rain-snow mix, or rain to snow type deal for the far interior, but I really don't think that benefits areas along I-78 and point southeast. So I do think you're going to have below normal snowfall in those areas for the month of December, and above normal will be relegated to the interior. So we're going to have these systems that we're going through. We have a couple of them coming this week here. The chances for a white Christmas, though, are very low, and I might even lower this, even lower to 15%, probably about 10% or less, and that's only if you're hoping for a miracle at this point. It does look mild, not nearly as mild as it did last year. Of course, last year we were looking at 70s and shorts. This year we're not looking at 70s, we're looking at 40s, but still too warm to snow. Here is one thing I wanted to bring up, and this is from 2 weeks ago when we did this video last. We couldn't do it last week because we had a little one of those little slop storms to deal with. So here's the image for 2 weeks ago that was projecting up through today of how much snow would fall. You can see, I see these images shared a lot, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because I'm tired of seeing these images out there. This is a 2-week projection of a model of how much snow would fall, and this is actually an ensemble mean, which is pretty aggressive. But you can see we had nowhere near that, except maybe for the far interior. It did have the idea that the heaviest snows would be up here. Any interior snows would be where you would get your snow, but it totally missed most of these areas here on the borderline. Right here, like right along I-78, I can tell you right now, I-78 did not do that well. Areas of point southeast and southeastern Pennsylvania didn't get hardly anything this month. Very little. Now, I do have some areas in northern New Jersey that did well, and this is probably pretty accurate there. For areas in central New Jersey and point south, not so much. Same thing in Delaware, not so much. So these things don't really work out when you're looking at 2-week projections. And just for giggles, we're going to look at the current run here, showing the from the 2 weeks from today. Okay, this goes all the way to New Year's Day. Okay, and you can see the model is showing again any snow that falls will be in the far interior. It'll be light. Areas south and east probably not. Okay, so we are heading into a period where we're doing a lot of ups and downs. No consistent cold, no consistent warm. And we're really more of a zonal pattern, so it's not going to be a lot of extremes on either side. So we're not really warm or really cold, but we are staying slightly above normal as an average, I think, for the period going forward through the end of the year. Also, as we get into the month of January, we might be staying that way. Here's a look at the ups and downs the next couple of weeks. Here is a look at after this system moves out, when we get into Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday, we're looking at this cold. This is a short-lived transient cold shot. Everything that's going to be the word of the week, word of the day, or the next couple of weeks here is going to be transient because everything's in and out. Okay, if you don't like your weather Today, wait a couple days, 2-3 days, it'll be completely different. And that's the theme we're going to. This is looking at 19th. This also holds the 20th. And then we start to warm up again. Here's a look at Christmas Eve and Christmas Day are going to be the same. It's just slightly above normal. Again, this is not a... People see these maps and are like, oh, wow, it's going to be a blowtorch. It's going to be absolutely... No, it's not going to be a blowtorch. This is relative to average. And average for this time of year. Temperatures in the upper 30s to near 40 or so. Okay? So, or the upper 30s to lower 40s, I'll say, for averages. So if you're seeing this, it's only slightly above. You're not talking shorts weather. You're not talking about blowtorch. You're talking about temperatures relative to average, and that would be 40s. So temperatures will be in the 40s, mid-upper 40s in many locations on both Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So it won't be too warm to snow, but it won't be like exceptionally warm. So we're not going to have those extremes. You see all this out here, waiting in the wings. This is going to come in after Christmas, we think. And here's the ensembles look at after Christmas. If I can get to the image, change. It's not wanting to change for me. I'm not sure why. There we go. Okay, so this is the period after Christmas, 26th, 27th, maybe 28th time frame. A couple days in there, you're going to have temperatures that are going to be below normal. And then right after that, right as we hit the New Year's, we go back to slightly above again. Now, there are indications as we go into the first week of January that this slightly above will continue. Okay, now how long this continues beyond that is still in question. There's a lot of mixed signals as we get into January. And I will be the first to admit, as a long-range forecaster, this is one of the most difficult times that we're going to have the forecast. If we get once you get past January 1st, I have about the best clue as anybody else. I can sit here and speculate like anybody else. Okay, but our analogs suggest that January will be cold, above normal precipitation, above normal snowfall. So I guess we have to still hold on to that just until we see something one way or the other. But either going warm or cold, but I can see both sides. I really can. I can see it going both ways in the month of January. There is a couple different things we're going to be looking at as far as tropical forcing that may help. Now here's an example of the GFS ensembles, and this is going out to the 31st of December. You can see some indications right now on the circle death, which means there's no effect of the pattern, but you're starting to see it go into these warm phases here, kind of are close to the warm phases, phase 6, phase 7, and then eventually phase 8. Well, once you get into the month of, you're in the month of December here, phase 6 is a warm phase. That's right here. You see all this warmth right here. Phase 7 is right here, and this is all also warm. Not quite as warm as phase 6, but it's still warm. Generally, slightly above, and that's kind of fits what we're going to be having through the end of the year here. But then, as you get into the very end of the cycle here, as we get it to around the 31st or 1st of January, it's suggesting a phase 8 signal. This phase 8 is colder, which is right here. See the blues here. It's a colder look, very cold look, and cold and stormy look. Now, the GEFS are correct. That means that during the first week of January, or perhaps by the start of the second week of January, you would get into a colder and more active, snowier pattern, if this is correct. There are other models, though, besides the GFS and the GEFS, which are the GFS ensembles. If you look at the European, it's not quite as enthused. It does bring it this direction, but it kind of stops it and halts it right about here, and doesn't propagate it further until after we're already into the first week of January, if you extrapolated it. So, it's kind of heading this direction, in the right direction, but it's still not there. So we're going to go have this little lull period here where really not much is going on. You're going to have perfectly timed systems like this one here shown on the GFS, the 6Z GFS, with a weak low that's kind of coming up the coast here like this and ends up here, and then it's showing some little coastal snow. I wouldn't take this verbatim, and I really don't think it's going to happen. But my point is, everything has to be timed perfectly with whatever cold shots we get, and they are transient. They're not sticking around. We can also look for the help from the stratosphere. Right now, you got the warming over the poles, which is a good thing, which is why you have these cold shots. Cold shots coming to the United States. Okay, so you get these cold shots coming to the United States because of that warming over the poles. But if you go out 10 days, the models are projecting this is going out to about the 27th, 28th to be a very strong polar vortex over top of the poles, very cold polar vortex. And if that's the case, a strong cold polar vortex sitting right over the poles does not usually means around the perimeter here you're usually warm. So all your air is bottled up in the Arctic, and you have a positive Arctic oscillation. So that's not good if the stratosphere look here is correct. A couple things you can do to change that. You can have a sudden stratospheric warming event, which can displace a polar vortex, kind of like this. So displacements here. You can have it displaced, where you can have some warming over the poles, and that's what you need in order to have that cold air escape the Arctic. Okay, or you can have a displacement or a total split one side or the other. Okay, now this would have to be more well established over here in the middle, and very strong. And, very strong warming over the poles, a sudden stratospheric warming event would allow that to happen. So there are a couple different ways you can do that, but, and the GFS, GEFS are suggesting there's going to be some wave flux action as we get into the beginning of January that could disrupt it. So we'll wait and see. Very strong polar vortex, though, right now is projected to be through the end of the month, so I wouldn't expect any help from the stratosphere. We're just going to be looking for tropical forcing help. This is something we have to monitor on a daily basis and see where this is. Just because this looks good right now, you could look at this 3-4 days from now and it might say, oh, now it's going to phase 6. It could totally change. Very volatile are these MGO forecasts. It's the tropical forcing which dictates your things like the Aleutian Ridge, negative EPO models are starting to bring. Some models are starting to bring the EPO back, which of course would give us a colder, maybe more stormier pattern. So we'll have to wait and see. This is just a wait and see game, and I'm telling you right now, despite doing long range, year round, I can tell you that there's a lot. If any forecaster is going to tell you with certainty that January is going to be exceptionally warm or above normal and no snow, or the opposite, saying it's going to be cold and above normal snowfall, they're lying to you. Okay, maybe they're just going with like we did here. This is just an analog. This is strictly off analogs. Okay. For January, slightly above normal or below normal as a whole, starts off slightly above. That's our best call right now, okay? Because I think the first week of January is a little warmer. But how long that lasts, I don't know. I really don't, because we have to wait and see what happens with both the stratosphere, tropical forcing, and some other things too. AAM anomalies and things like that as well also play a role. But right now we're sticking with our analogs, which suggested above normal precipitation and snowfall, below normal temperatures. But that's subject to change. That's what I'm telling you. I'm just being honest, okay? If we are going into, actual winter, calendar winter, starting on the 21st or 22nd, a couple days. Today's the 18th, so we'll say a couple days. We'll actually be starting calendar winter. If you're not signed up for the My Pocket Meteorologist alerts for your 1 county or 2 county alerts, like many already have, we have over several thousand signed up. But if you are one of those that have not, now is the time to do that before winter begins. We also have the premium forum that has been very active discussing any winter storm threats that have as they arise. So if you do want more information on that, click on the image below that looks just like this, right below the video, and it will take you to the My Pocket Meteorologist page where you can sign up for those services and become part of the thousands of satisfied customers that are already served by Eastern PA Weather Authority and Weather New Jersey. I'm Eastern PA Weather Authority meteorologist Bobby Martus. That is this edition of Weather Weeklies for Sunday, December 18th, 2016. Join us again next week. Maybe next week's Christmas, isn't it? I'll tell you what, I'll get back to you on whether we're going to have this next week. I'm not sure yet. I might have to do it on a different day, but I should have thought about this before doing the video. Okay, well, we're going to have it this week. I'll make an announcement in social media whether we're going to do it next week or maybe move it to a different day. Otherwise, take care, and I'll have a great holiday if I don't talk to you before then.